Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk to you today about something that has the power to transform your life in ways you might never have imagined. It's not about massive leaps or overnight successes. It's about the power of small wins, the tiny changes we make every day that lead to breakthroughs beyond our wildest dreams. Think about the daily routines we take for granted. A mother who teaches her child to pray every night is planting seeds of faith that can grow into a towering strength later in life. Small moments, consistent actions, they seem insignificant in isolation but add up to something monumental. Let me take you to a biblical example, the story of David and Goliath. David didn't defeat Goliath by brute strength. It was a simple act of boy with a sling and a stone. But that single well-aimed action, born out of faith and practice, changed the course of history. David's victory wasn't about the size of his weapon, but the power of preparation and belief in the small steps leading to triumph. History gives us another remarkable example in the life of Mahatma Gandhi. His weapon against British colonial rule wasn't military might, but the seemingly humble act of making salt. That single gesture, the Salt March, was a small symbolic act that mobilized millions and became the foundation of an entire movement. Gandhi understood the power of a tiny change, one that resonated deeply with people and carried the weight of transformation. I'm reminded of the great inventor Thomas Edison, who famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Each of those so-called failures was a tiny step forward, a lesson learned, a piece of the puzzle that eventually lit the world with the electric bulb. Edison's life teaches us that breakthroughs aren't sudden, they're the result of persistence, small efforts, and an unshakable belief in the power of moving forward 1 inch at a time. When we think about our spiritual lives, Jesus teaches us the same. He spoke of mustard seeds, the tiniest of seeds that grow into mighty trees. He told us that faith the size of a mustard seed could move mountains. Why? Because even the smallest act of faith, the smallest step toward love and kindness, can ripple outward to change the world. So today, my message to you is simple: embrace the small wins. Make the phone call you've been putting off. Spend 5 extra minutes in prayer. Choose the apple over the candy bar. These are your stones, your salt grains, your mustard seeds. They may seem small, but they carry the power to create breakthroughs that defy the odds. Because when you string enough small wins together, they build momentum. Momentum turns into transformation. And transformation, well, that's where the magic happens. Small wins are the foundation of every great story, every remarkable life. And yours is no different. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever stood at the foot of a mountain and wondered how you would ever get to the top? The climb feels daunting, almost impossible, but you take one step, then another. Before you know it, you're higher than you imagined, closer to the summit than you thought possible. This journey, one small step at a time, is what life is all about. Small wins are not just about progress, they are about perspective. They remind us that greatness isn't a single act of brilliance, but a series of small, deliberate actions taken consistently over time. Every great journey, invention, movement, and transformation started with one small step. Let's reflect on this deeply, because understanding this truth can shift the way we approach every challenge and dream in our lives. Think about a seed. It's tiny, almost insignificant, but when planted, watered, and nurtured, it grows into a mighty tree. This is one of the most profound examples nature gives us. A seed doesn't become a tree overnight. It takes time, sunlight, rain, and care. Every day it stretches a little further into the soil and sky, and one day it stands tall, providing shade and fruit. This natural process is a metaphor for how our efforts, no matter how small, can grow into something monumental. The Bible reinforces this lesson beautifully. Jesus spoke of faith the size of a mustard seed. The mustard seed is incredibly small, yet Jesus used it to illustrate that even the tiniest bit of faith, if acted upon, can move mountains. This teaching isn't just about spiritual faith, it's about believing in the power of starting small and trusting the process. Think about how often we dismiss the small things because they don't seem to matter. But in truth, the small things are what set the stage for the big ones. Let's revisit the story of David and Goliath. David was a young shepherd, armed not with swords or armor, but with a sling and a few stones. He wasn't a warrior by any measure, yet he faced Goliath with courage and precision. What many overlook in this story is that David's success didn't come out of nowhere. His skill with the sling was honed over countless small moments, protecting his flock from predators. Every stone he slung at a lion or bear was a small win, preparing him for that pivotal moment. David's victory wasn't just divine intervention, it was the culmination of faith and preparation in the smallest of ways. History is filled with similar examples. Take the story of Thomas Edison. We often celebrate him for inventing the light bulb, but how many of us remember that it took over 10,000 attempts? Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Each of those attempts was a small step forward, a piece of the puzzle that brought him closer to success. It's a powerful reminder that breakthroughs don't come from giant leaps, they come from relentless, incremental progress. Gandhi's Salt March is another perfect example. On the surface, it seemed like a small symbolic act, walking to the sea to make salt. But this single act resonated with millions, becoming a catalyst for India's independence movement. Gandhi understood the power of a small win to spark something much larger. It wasn't the salt itself that made the difference, it was what it represented: resistance, unity, and the beginning of change. In our daily lives, the power of small wins is just as profound. Imagine someone who wants to improve their health. They don't need to overhaul their entire lifestyle in one day. They can start by drinking one more glass of water, taking a short walk, or swapping out one healthy snack. These small changes, when repeated, create momentum. Momentum builds habits, and habits lead to transformation. It's the same with learning a new skill. Playing a single note on a piano or learning one word in a new language might seem trivial, but those moments are the foundation of mastery. In professional settings, small wins are equally transformative. Think about a team working on a big project. Celebrating small milestones, completing a report, solving a problem, or meeting a deadline keeps the team motivated and focused. These wins build confidence and demonstrate progress even when the final goal seems far off. In leadership, this principle is invaluable. Great leaders recognize the power of small wins to inspire their teams and create a culture of achievement. Even in relationships, small wins matter. A kind word, a thoughtful gesture, or a moment of genuine listening can strengthen bonds over time. It's not about grand declarations or sweeping gestures, it's about the little things that show care and consistency. A marriage isn't built on one romantic vacation, it's built on daily acts of love and respect. The idea of small wins also applies to our spiritual lives. Praying for a few minutes each day, reading one verse of scripture, or helping one person in need may not seem like much, but these small acts deepen our faith and bring us closer to God. The Bible is filled with stories of individuals whose small actions had enormous impact, whether it was Moses lifting his staff to part the Red Sea or the widow offering her last coins as a gesture of faith. These acts weren't grand in scale, but their significance was immeasurable. Now let's talk about you. What small win can you claim today? Maybe it's as simple as waking up a little earlier, making your bed, or writing down one goal for the day. Maybe it's reaching out to a friend you've been meaning to call. These actions might seem insignificant in the moment, but over time, they create a ripple effect. They build discipline, strengthen relationships, and bring clarity to your purpose. It's important to remember that small wins don't just happen, they require intention. It's easy to overlook the little things, especially when we're focused on big dreams or overwhelmed by challenges. But when we shift our mindset to value progress over perfection, everything changes. We stop waiting for the right moment or the perfect opportunity and start taking action, however small, right where we are. This principle applies to every area of life. If you want to write a book, start with one paragraph. If you want to save money, begin by setting aside a few dollars each week. If you want to make a difference in your community, volunteer for an hour. The beauty of small wins is that they are accessible to everyone, regardless of circumstances. They don't require extraordinary talent or resources, just a willingness to start. The power of small wins lies in their ability to create momentum. When you achieve one small goal, it builds confidence and motivates you to take the next step. This momentum is what propels you forward, even when the road gets tough. It's what keeps you going when progress feels slow and obstacles seem insurmountable. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and that step, as small as it may be, is worth celebrating. So I leave you with this challenge: embrace the small wins. Don't wait for the perfect moment or the grand opportunity. Start small, start today, and trust that every step you take, no matter how small, is bringing you closer to your breakthrough. Because the power of small wins is the power to transform your life, one tiny step at a time. Thank you. The power of small wins. Let's take a deeper dive into the nuances, storytelling, and everyday applications of this concept. Let's reflect on how tiny, consistent efforts shape our paths, forge our identities, and lead to transformative breakthroughs. Life itself is a collection of small moments strung together, and it is in these moments that the seeds of greatness are sown. Imagine for a moment the world's great cathedrals. These awe-inspiring structures like the Notre Dame or St. Peter's Basilica were not built in a single day or even a single decade. They were the result of thousands of individual contributions, brick by brick, beam by beam, year after year. Each stone laid, each intricate carving added, was a small win in the journey toward creating something timeless. The builders likely didn't see the final masterpiece in their lifetime, but their contributions mattered profoundly. This is how small actions accumulate into something far greater than the sum of their parts. Think about an artist painting a masterpiece. The first brushstroke doesn't look like much. Neither does the second or third. Yet, stroke by stroke, an image begins to emerge full of depth, meaning, and emotion. The artist isn't intimidated by the blank canvas because they trust in the process of layering, refining, and building slowly. The same is true for all creative endeavors, whether you're writing a novel, composing music, or designing a new invention. Progress happens one step at a time. Let's move into the realm of sports. Consider the legendary basketball player Michael Jordan. People often focus on his incredible talent and record-breaking achievements, but Jordan himself has said that it was his work ethic and relentless dedication to improvement that set him apart. Every day he practiced tirelessly, perfecting one shot, one move, one play. Those small daily improvements are what made him a global icon. It wasn't just the game-winning shots that defined his career, but the hours spent practicing in an empty gym. His story is a testament to the power of small wins adding up to legendary success. Turning to literature, think of someone like J.K. Rowling, who wrote the Harry Potter series. She didn't sit down and create a global phenomenon in one sitting. Instead, she wrote piece by piece, day by day, often in challenging circumstances. At one point, she was a single mother struggling to make ends meet, writing in cafes while her child napped. Each page she wrote was a small win, a step closer to the magical world we now know and love. Her story reminds us that even under difficult conditions, consistent effort can lead to extraordinary results. In science, the principle of small wins is beautifully illustrated by the story of Marie Curie. She didn't discover radioactivity overnight. Her groundbreaking research involved meticulous, painstaking work measuring, testing, and analyzing over many years. Her incremental discoveries laid the foundation for entire fields of science. It's a reminder that even the most groundbreaking achievements often begin with small, deliberate steps. Think about the Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur, who invented the first successful airplane. Their journey wasn't marked by a single moment of brilliance, but by years of trial and error. Each flight attempt, whether it ended in success or failure, was a small win because it brought them closer to understanding how to achieve controlled, powered flight. Their story teaches us that persistence and learning from each step are key to overcoming even the greatest challenges. Now, let's consider the spiritual aspect of small wins. In the Bible, there's the story of Noah, who built the ark. This wasn't a quick task, it took years of steady work, guided by faith and purpose. Imagine the patience, perseverance, and trust in the process required to build something so massive in a time when tools and resources were limited. Every plank of wood he placed, every nail he hammered, was a small win on the journey to fulfilling God's plan. In modern psychology, the concept of small wins has been studied extensively. Researchers have found that achieving small goals releases dopamine in the brain, creating a sense of accomplishment and motivation to continue. This reward loop reinforces positive behavior, making it easier to take the next step. This is why breaking down large goals into smaller, manageable tasks is such an effective strategy. Each small win builds momentum, making the larger goal feel less daunting. Let's bring this idea into the workplace. Imagine a team working on a complex project. If the only measure of success is completing the entire project, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But if the team celebrates each milestone, finishing a section, solving a problem, or hitting a deadline, they stay motivated and focused. Small wins keep morale high and remind everyone that progress is being made. Over time, these incremental achievements add up to the completion of the project and the sense of collective accomplishment. Even in personal relationships, small wins matter. A single compliment, a thoughtful text message, or taking a few minutes to truly listen can strengthen bonds and build trust. These small actions, repeated consistently, create a foundation for deeper connections. Love isn't built on grand gestures alone, it's nurtured through daily acts of kindness and care. Reflecting on education, consider a child learning to read. They don't start by understanding Shakespeare or Dickens. They start with the alphabet, then simple words, then sentences. Each new word they learn is a small win, building their confidence and ability. Over time, these small steps lead to a lifelong skill in a world of possibilities. In the realm of social change, small wins are equally powerful. Take the civil rights movement in the United States. While we often remember the monumental events like the March on Washington, it's important to recognize the countless small acts of courage that paved the way. Every sit-in at a segregated lunch counter, every voter registration drive, every conversation challenging prejudice was a small win contributing to a larger movement for justice and equality. In your own life, think about how you can apply the power of small wins. Maybe you want to get healthier, but the idea of overhauling your entire lifestyle feels overwhelming. Start with one small change: drink more water, take the stairs instead of the elevator, or cook one healthy meal each week. These small steps, when repeated consistently, create a ripple effect that leads to bigger changes. Perhaps you want to start a new career but feel intimidated by the skills you need to learn. Break it down. Take one class, read one book, or practice one skill. Each small win builds your confidence and brings you closer to your goal. The beauty of small wins is that they're accessible to everyone. You don't need extraordinary talent, resources, or circumstances to take the first step. All you need is the willingness to start and the persistence to keep going. Over time, those steps turn into strides, and those strides turn into journeys that lead to places you never thought you'd reach. So let us all embrace the power of small wins. Let us find joy in the small steps, the tiny victories, and the daily progress. Because when we look back on our lives, it won't be the size of the steps that matters, it will be the courage it took to take them, one at a time. Keep moving forward, keep building, and watch how the small wins lead to the breakthroughs that change everything. Imagine for a moment a young student, perhaps struggling in school. The prospect of mastering an entire subject might feel overwhelming, but what if the focus shifts to learning just one concept at a time? A single math equation solved, a paragraph written with clarity, or a science fact memorized, each of these is a small win. With each success, confidence grows and the previously insurmountable subject begins to feel more manageable. This principle doesn't just apply to students. It applies to all of us as lifelong learners. When we focus on mastering one small piece at a time, we build a foundation of competence and momentum that carries us forward. In the realm of physical fitness, the power of small wins is both practical and transformative. Imagine someone who has decided to start running but feels daunted by the idea of completing a marathon. Their journey doesn't begin with 26.2 miles, it begins with a single step. Perhaps they run for just 30 seconds on the first day, then a minute the next. Over time, those incremental increases add up. and what once seemed impossible becomes achievable. The process isn't about the distance covered on any given day, but the consistency and gradual improvement that lead to monumental change. Consider a writer working on a novel. Writing an entire book can feel overwhelming, but the key lies in focusing on small wins, writing one sentence, one paragraph, one chapter at a time. Each small piece contributes to the larger whole, and over time, the story takes shape. Many famous authors have attested to the importance of daily writing habits, emphasizing that even writing a few hundred words a day can eventually result in a complete manuscript. This approach highlights the magic of steady, persistent effort. Even in personal finance, small wins play a crucial role. Saving for a significant goal like buying a house or retiring comfortably often feels daunting. But when we break it down into small, manageable steps, saving a few dollars a week, reducing unnecessary expenses, or investing modest amounts consistently, we start to see progress. Each small contribution to a savings account or investment portfolio builds over time, thanks to the power of compound interest. These incremental efforts lead to financial stability and freedom, one small win at a time. The workplace offers countless examples of small wins creating significant impact. Consider a team tackling a complex project with tight deadlines and high stakes. Rather than focusing solely on the daunting end goal, the team celebrates each milestone along the way, completing a draft, resolving a key issue, or achieving a preliminary approval. These moments of success not only build morale but also reinforce the sense of progress, making the larger goal feel attainable. Celebrating small wins is a leadership strategy that fosters motivation and engagement, transforming a challenging project into a series of manageable tasks. Relationships, too, thrive on small wins. A marriage isn't built on grand romantic gestures but on daily acts of love, kindness, and consideration. A simple thank you, a thoughtful gesture, or a moment of undivided attention can strengthen a relationship far more than occasional extravagance. Over time, these small actions create a reservoir of trust and affection that sustains the relationship through challenges. The same is true for friendships, familial bonds, and professional connections. Small, consistent efforts to nurture these relationships yield profound and lasting rewards. In the field of healthcare, the principle of small wins is often central to patient care and recovery. For someone recovering from a major surgery or illness, the road to full health can feel overwhelming. However, focusing on small milestones, sitting up in bed, taking the first steps after surgery, or eating a meal independently provides motivation and a sense of accomplishment. Each of these small victories brings the patient closer to recovery and reinforces the belief that progress is possible, even in the face of adversity. On a societal level, small wins have the power to create significant change. Movements for social justice and equality often begin with small, courageous acts. Think of Rosa Parks refusing to give up her bus seat. Her action, though seemingly small in the moment, ignited a larger movement that brought about transformative change. Each step taken by individuals within these movements, attending a march, signing a petition, or engaging in dialogue, represents a small win that collectively drives progress. The spiritual dimension of small wins is deeply rooted in many faith traditions. In the Bible, the story of the loaves and fishes illustrates how a small offering, blessed and multiplied, can meet the needs of thousands. This story is a powerful reminder of the potential within seemingly small acts of faith and generosity. It encourages us to trust that our efforts, no matter how modest, can have a ripple effect far beyond what we can see. Daily acts of prayer, kindness, and service may seem small, but they align us with a greater purpose and bring us closer to the divine. The psychological benefits of small wins are supported by research. Achieving even minor goals releases dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with feelings of pleasure and reward. This creates a positive feedback loop that motivates us to continue striving. Setting and achieving small, manageable goals is a strategy often recommended by psychologists to build confidence, overcome procrastination, and combat feelings of overwhelm. By breaking larger goals into smaller steps, we make progress more tangible and maintain momentum. Reflecting on historical figures, we see that their achievements were often the result of small wins accumulated over time. Abraham Lincoln, for example, is celebrated as one of the greatest presidents in American history, but his journey was marked by numerous setbacks. He lost multiple elections before eventually becoming president. Each loss taught him valuable lessons and prepared him for the challenges of leadership. His persistence and ability to focus on incremental progress ultimately shaped his legacy. In science and innovation, the same pattern emerges. Consider the development of vaccines, including the recent COVID-19 vaccines. The breakthroughs we celebrate today are the result of decades of research, countless experiments, and incremental advancements. Each study, trial, and data point represented a small win that brought researchers closer to a solution. The cumulative effect of these small victories saved millions of lives and changed the course of history. Turning inward, let's reflect on our own lives. How often do we overlook the small wins because we're fixated on the big picture? Perhaps you've been working toward a significant goal of promotion, a degree, or a personal milestone and feel frustrated by slow progress. But if you take a step back and look closely, you'll likely find small wins along the way that deserve recognition. Maybe it's a new skill you've learned, a connection you've made, or a problem you've solved. Each of these is a step forward, bringing you closer to your goal. Small wins also teach us resilience. Life is filled with challenges, and not every day will bring a major breakthrough. But when we focus on small victories, we build the resilience to keep going. These moments of progress remind us that we are capable of growth and change, even in the face of obstacles. They anchor us in the belief that success is not about perfection, but about persistence. In closing, the power of small wins lies in their ability to transform our lives from the inside out. They teach us patience, perseverance, and the importance of celebrating progress no matter how small. They remind us that greatness is not a single act, but a series of steps taken consistently over time. Whether we are building relationships, pursuing our dreams, or navigating challenges, small wins provide the foundation for meaningful and lasting change. So let us embrace the small wins in our lives. Let us find joy in each step forward and trust that these steps, no matter how small, are leading us towards something extraordinary. Because it is through these small wins that we discover our strength, achieve our goals, and create the lives we've always imagined. Keep moving forward and let the power of small wins guide your journey. The essence of small wins lies in their transformative and compounding power, and diving deeper into this concept allows us to uncover its universal relevance across every facet of life. While small wins often appear trivial in isolation, their cumulative effect can create extraordinary shifts, both in our personal lives and on a global scale. Small wins have a ripple effect. Just as a pebble dropped in a pond creates expanding ripples, the positive impact of small victories grows over time. Consider the story of Thomas Edison, who famously tested thousands of materials before successfully inventing the light bulb. Each test, even those that failed, provided valuable information and brought him closer to his ultimate goal. Edison himself viewed these steps as progress, often remarking that he hadn't failed but had merely found ways that didn't work. This mindset is a testament to the power of small wins. They refine our understanding, fuel our perseverance, and keep us focused on the broader objective. In historical contexts, the significance of small wins becomes even more evident. The fight for civil rights in the United States, for instance, was not won in a single moment or event. It was a series of small victories, protests, court rulings, and acts of defiance that collectively dismantled systemic injustices. Each sit-in, each march, and each conversation about equality contributed to a broader cultural shift. The 1954 Brown v. Board of Education decision, the Montgomery bus boycott led by Rosa Parks, and the eventual passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 were all preceded by countless small wins that paved the way for these monumental achievements. On a personal level, small wins help build self-confidence and resilience. For example, a child learning to ride a bicycle doesn't master it on their first attempt. They begin with training wheels, then practice balancing with guidance, and finally ride independently. Each stage is a small win that builds their confidence and teaches them to persevere through challenges. This process applies to adults as well, whether we're learning a new skill, adapting to a new job, or recovering from setbacks. The incremental progress we make reinforces our belief in our capabilities and strengthens our determination to keep going. Small wins are also critical in mental health and personal growth. For someone battling depression or anxiety, the path to recovery often begins with tiny, manageable steps. Perhaps it's getting out of bed, making a phone call, or stepping outside for a brief walk. These small actions, though seemingly insignificant, represent triumphs over the weight of their struggles. Mental health professionals often encourage clients to focus on incremental goals because they provide tangible evidence of progress, fostering hope and motivation. Even nature itself operates on the principle of small wins. Look at how rivers carve through rock to form canyons. It doesn't happen overnight, but through the persistent flow of water over thousands or even millions of years. This gradual process transforms the landscape, creating breathtaking natural wonders. Similarly, the growth of a tree from a tiny seed exemplifies how small, consistent efforts, sunlight, water, and nutrients result in something magnificent. From a biblical perspective, small wins resonate deeply. The story of David and Goliath is often interpreted as a tale of an underdog triumphing over a giant, but it also demonstrates the power of preparation and small victories. Before facing Goliath, David had honed his skills as a shepherd, defending his flock against predators. These smaller battles prepared him for the greater challenge ahead. His victory over Goliath wasn't just a sudden stroke of luck, it was the culmination of his experiences and faith in his abilities. Another biblical example is the journey of the Israelites in the wilderness. Their 40-year journey to the Promised Land was marked by incremental progress and small victories. Each step forward, each provision of manna, and each lesson learned along the way contributed to their ultimate success. This narrative reminds us that even in prolonged struggles, small wins sustain us and keep us moving toward our destination. In social movements, small wins are often the catalyst for larger changes. For example, environmental conservation efforts frequently start with grassroots initiatives. A community might begin by planting a few trees, organizing cleanup drives, or advocating for local policies. These actions, while small in scale, inspire broader participation and influence policymakers, leading to larger systemic changes. The global push towards sustainability owes much to these small wins that build momentum and raise awareness. Small wins also have profound implications in the field of education. Teachers often use incremental goals to help students achieve success. A child learning to read, for instance, doesn't start with entire books but with letters and sounds. Mastering the alphabet is a small win, followed by recognizing words and then forming sentences. These achievements build the child's confidence and enthusiasm for learning, creating a solid foundation for future academic success. In creative endeavors, small wins are the building blocks of masterpieces. Consider a painter working on a mural. Each brushstroke, though seemingly insignificant, contributes to the larger work of art. Similarly, musicians practice scales, athletes perfect techniques, and chefs experiment with flavors. These small, repetitive efforts refine their skills and bring their visions to life. The world's greatest works of art, performances, and innovations are the result of countless small wins accumulated over time. In the digital age, small wins are more relevant than ever. Social media platforms, for instance, rely on engagement metrics to measure success. A single like, comment, or share may seem minor, but these actions collectively determine the reach and impact of content. For creators, each interaction represents a small win that validates their efforts and motivates them to continue sharing their work. On a global scale, the concept of small wins reminds us that solving complex challenges requires patience and persistence. Climate change, for example, cannot be addressed through a single solution. It requires a series of small wins, reducing emissions, adopting renewable energy, conserving resources, and raising awareness. Each step, no matter how small, contributes to the larger goal of preserving our planet for future generations. In conclusion, small wins are the threads that weave the fabric of our lives. They are the quiet victories that shape our character, build our resilience, and propel us toward our dreams. By celebrating and embracing these moments, we unlock the potential to achieve greatness, not in leaps and bounds, but in steady, deliberate strides. Life's most profound transformations often begin with the smallest of actions, proving that no step is too small when it's taken with purpose and determination. Keep striving, keep believing, and let the power of small wins guide you toward a future filled with possibility and success. To conclude, the journey of life is made meaningful by the small, deliberate steps we take each day. The power of small wins lies not just in their ability to propel us forward, but in how they transform us along the way. Every small act of progress, whether it's mastering a new skill, overcoming a minor challenge, or offering kindness to another, brings us closer to our fullest potential. Greatness is not achieved in a single leap, but in a series of persistent, purposeful steps. Small wins teach us to value the process, to celebrate incremental progress, and to find strength in consistency. They remind us that every monumental achievement is the culmination of countless moments of effort, perseverance, and faith. So let us approach our goals, relationships, and challenges with renewed hope and determination, knowing that even the smallest actions can ignite a ripple effect of transformation. The path to success is not linear, nor is it always visible, but with each small victory, we are paving the way toward a life of fulfillment, purpose, and legacy. Celebrate each step, no matter how small, and trust that these moments will carry you to breakthroughs beyond what you can imagine. Keep moving forward with courage, gratitude, and the unwavering belief that small wins hold the key to extraordinary change.